These two are the most loyal friends in the whole world. In 1992, these two made a deal that if either one of them won the lottery, they would split it 50-50. Flash forward 28 years and one of them won $22 million in the Powerball lottery. Although they made this deal 28 years ago, he still called up his friend and they split the money. Share this with a friend that you would make this deal with. These two are This cat was overweight, so his owner wanted to put him down. Sammy weighed over 70 pounds, so his owner dropped him off at the vet to put him down. Instead of taking his life, the vet found him a new owner that wanted to take care of him. Sammy had to lose 30 pounds or he wouldn't live much longer. And it wasn't easy because Sammy just wanted to be lazy. They slowly introduced him to a water treadmill and eventually he lost 30 pounds. Now he can run around and do things that he could never do before. All because the new owner wanted to spend the time and effort to take care of him. This cat was Here's the truth behind Tom and Jerry. Tom loved Toodles with all of his heart, but he lost the love of his life to a cat with more money. Tom even signed his own life away for her. Tom fell into a deep depression and started to drink milk to ease his pain. But she ended up marrying a different cat. He then sat on the train tracks waiting for a train to end his life. Sorry, guys. Here's the truth. Can you pass the FBI special agent test? This is the beverages riddle. A man and a woman went out for dinner at a restaurant. While they were waiting, the woman ordered 5 drinks with ice because she was hot. The woman drank 4 of them all at once, while the man only drank 1. Later on, the man became ill and died. The doctor said all of the drinks were poisoned. So why was the woman alive when the man died? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it, but while you're thinking, I just found an app where you can play Fortnite or Among Us with your best friends on FaceTime. Click here in my bio if you want to play too. The answer is that the ice was poisoned. Since the woman drank her drink so quickly, the ice didn't have any time to melt. And since the man drank so slowly, the ice melted and poisoned him. Now comment if you got it. Can you This boy had over 230. Only 3% of people can figure out where the rest of this girl is. Look at this picture. It looks like this little girl is sinking into the concrete, but I promise you that's not the case. If you focus really hard on the girl, you can see it's a completely normal picture. Subscribe, then comment once you finally figure it out. This McDonald's worker paid for a family's meal, but how she repays him will leave you in tears. This is Brittany Reed, and after a long day of soccer practice, her 3 kids were starving and her youngest was crying. So she decided to go to McDonald's to get everybody food. When she got to the drive-thru, she ordered the food and then pulled up to the window to pay. While her kids were screaming in the back, she realized she forgot her wallet. She was already super stressed that day, so she looked up to the worker with tears in her eyes and said to cancel the order because she forgot her wallet. Before I continue, do you want to get paid to literally just walk? I found an app that will pay you for every single step you take, and you're already walking 10,000 steps, so you may as well get paid. Click here in my bio if you want to get paid too. The McDonald's worker was a 16-year-old boy named Wyatt, and without any hesitation, he pulled out his wallet and paid for the family's order. Brittany later found out he was saving up for a car, so she decided to start a GoFundMe page and raised $50,000. And McDonald's even gave him an award for his generous action. This man raised his arm and hasn't put it down in 40 years. His name is Amar, and he's kept his arm above his head since 1979. He decided to raise his arm and keep it there to disconnect from all luxuries of mortal life. He said he felt extreme pain when he first raised his arm, but now he feels nothing. The muscle in his arm is atrophied so much that he couldn't even use it if he wanted to. His arm is stuck in this position and will continue to be for the rest of his life. Here's how things actually work. This is what it looks like when you swallow water. It's a lot slower than you think. And this is how Charlie D'Amelio got her nose done. Doctors will make an incision before lifting up the skin. After that, they'll cut out cartilage from the nose that they'll then use to reconstruct it. They then pull the skin down and the process is complete. Here's what it looks like when your skin heals over time. It's an extremely long process, but whoever sat here for this long deserves an award. Have you ever wondered how dogs actually drink water? They actually curl their tongue backwards, creating a scoop. How come no one told me this? Here's how the bank accidentally deposited $37 million into this woman's bank account, but you won't believe what she does with it. 37-year-old Ruth was finishing off her workday at the warehouse when she got an unusual notification on her phone. It was an alert from her bank saying new funds had just been deposited. But as she looked closer, she was shocked to find an extra $37 million in her account. Thinking she had just won the lottery, she immediately called her husband to tell him the good news. But he immediately shut her down and told her to contact the bank as it could have been some scam. Unfortunately, the bank had already closed closed that day, so they took matters into their own hands. Before I continue, do you want to get paid to literally just walk? I found an app that will pay you for every single step you take, and you're already walking 10,000 steps, so you may as well get paid. Click here in my bio if you want to get paid too. The next day, they contacted the local news, and it turns out it was a mistake on the bank side. So Ruth returned the $37 million and went back to working her regular job. The bank accidentally deposited 30.
These are people with the biggest body parts, Part 2.
Up first is Gary Turner, and he has the stretchiest skin in the entire world. He can stretch his skin off of his body to a total length of 6.5 inches. This is absolutely insane, and I don't know whether to be impressed or completely creeped out. Next up is Francisco Joaquin, and he has the largest mouth in the entire world. His mouth can stretch up to 7 inches, and he can virtually fit any small object into it, including soda bottles, remote controls, and probably anything. So if you thought you had the biggest mouth in the world, well, think again.
These are people who died from doing pranks, Part 2.
Up first, a man by the name of Lee Tenley put on a military-style ghillie suit and went into the woods impersonating Bigfoot trying to scare people. But 2 teenagers saw him run out of the woods, and they were extremely scared. So they then proceeded to hit Lee with their car, and he died as a result of his injuries. Up next, there was a 16-year-old kid who was ding-dong ditching houses when it went from fun to deadly quick. He was shot while walking away from the home of Jay Levin, who claimed he thought Mark was an armed intruder. Jay Levin pleaded guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 52 weekends in jail. And he was also ordered to pay $750,000 to Mark Drew's parents.
These are facts that'll make your skin crawl, Part 8.
Up first, ducks sometimes become cannibals due to boredom, meaning they kill and eat each other. So next time you see a duck and they look bored, just know they might start eating each other. Up next, there has been quite a few cases of men who try and take a pee off the legendary Grand Canyon only to lose balance and fall to their death. All men could understand how legendary this pee would be if they only lived to tell it. So whatever you do, don't try and pee off the Grand Canyon. So if you were ever afraid of crocodiles, well, you're about to be even more afraid of them. Crocodiles are actually capable of galloping, similar to a horse. This means that they can definitely keep up with you if you try and run away. So if you ever see a crocodile galloping towards you, just know you are probably screwed.
These are pictures of extremely disturbing things, Part 9.
Up first is this photo. At first glance, you probably have no idea what's going on, but that is actually a tsunami wave. And if you look at the bottom left of the photo, you can see a lone man just standing there, about to be swept away by this tsunami. This is extremely chilling, and I wonder why he did this. Up next is a picture of Blanche Meunier, who was secretly kept in a locked room by her mother and brother for 26 years. She was eventually found, and this is what she looked like. She was extremely unhealthy and underweight, and was in filthy condition. She also didn't see any sunlight for her whole captivity. Next up is this picture. The kid on the right's name is Bart Whittaker, and he paid 2 of his buddies to murder his family that night. They would kill the mother and brother, but the father who took the photo survived.
These are dirty facts about history that will blow your mind, Part 1.
Up first, Benjamin Franklin actually had a gilf fetish. He wrote a long letter to a friend advising of the benefits of taking an older woman as a mistress. His reasons were, they are more thankful for the attention, they are more adventurous than young women, they are experienced and don't have to be trained, and they are less likely to betray you in favor of another man. And he finally said that the face ages, but the downstairs does not. My boy Benjamin was low-key a freak. Next up, ancient Egyptians believed.
These are chilling last letters from World War II soldiers, Part 1.
Up first is a letter that said, when the war is over, we will get married and the earth will grow flowers like you, and your womb will carry the most beautiful girl in the universe. This letter was found in the pocket of a dead soldier who died in battle in World War II. This is very sad and just doesn't sit right. Next up is a letter that a soldier wrote to his mom that said, just writing this to you to let you know that I'm okay. Everything is going fine, and I hope you know I will be home safe. Nothing can happen to your little man. I love you, Mom, and hope to see you soon. Harry. This letter was found in Harry Schroeder's pocket, who was killed by enemy gunfire the morning of the Normandy landings. I could just imagine that mother reading that letter and realizing that her son is never coming home.
These are chilling. This is the scary story about the date.
There was a woman named Christy who was leaving work one day. She had a date with her boyfriend and she was super excited. Christy then called an Uber and waited for it to arrive. As her Uber driver pulled up to her, he yelled her name to make sure it was her. Christy said yes and then got into the car. The Uber driver started driving, and everything was fine, until he slowed down the car and pulled over to the side of the road. He then turned around and looked at Christy and said, "Hello, Christy," with a very creepy smile on his face. Christy became worried and scared, and she tried to get out of the car, but the doors were locked. The man then jumped into the backseat of the car with Christy and began stabbing her repeatedly. As she lay there and died, the man whispered in her ear, "Your boyfriend paid me to do this."
These are dirty animal facts you wish you never knew about. Part 3.
Up first, petting birds actually turns them on. They will start panting and shaking, and sometimes even puke on you. So the next chance you get to pet a bird, you might want to think twice about doing it. Next up, frogs sometimes might make a home out of elephant's poop. They do this because it provides shelter from the sun, and all the bugs crawling around in it make for an easy quick snack for the frog. This is absolutely disgusting and it kinda ruined my day. Next up, several species of birds keep cool by pooping on themselves. It's called heroijosis, and it's how some birds like storks, condors, flamingos, and vultures keep cool. It seems to do the same thing as sweating, except that instead of sweat, these birds dribble poop down their legs.
These are dirty facts about history that will blow your mind. Part 2.
Up first, Lewis and Clark kept journals detailing the violent diarrhea that they and their fellow explorers had. The explorers did not take a physician with them, and it showed. They graphically recorded all of their challenges, which also included chefed thighs, boils, and mosquito bites. One team member even died from his diarrhea. Next up, when Edgar Allan Poe was 20,
This is the scary story about the eyes.
there was a man named Jim who was at the store one day when a middle-aged woman tapped him on the shoulder and said, "I can't help but notice your beautiful eyes." Jim smiled and said thank you. The woman then smiled back and asked for his number, which Jim gladly gave to her. Later that night, Jim received a text message from the woman to come over. Jim said, "I'll be right there." He then got up and went over. When he got there, he knocked on the door, and the woman then answered. She then welcomed Jim into her house and said, "Follow me." Jim then followed her to a room that was pitch black, but when the woman turned on the lights, Jim stood there in fear. In the room were shelves filled with hundreds of human eyeballs. He then heard the woman say from behind him, "I really like your eyes." Jim then felt something hit the back of his head and everything went black. When Jim woke up, everything was still black. He began screaming, but then he heard the woman's voice say, "There's no need to scream. Your eyes are never coming back."
This is the scary story about the eyes.
There was a man named